welcome to What's Happening. We begin with the Lord Mayor's show in London, which took place as COP delegates were watering down their final agreement in Glasgow. Despite high security around the event, activists from Extinction Rebellion managed to disrupt the procession several times and even infiltrated with a float of their own, as described here by XR co-founder Dr. Gail Bradbrook.
We infiltrated the Lord Mayor's show today, folks. It's a money rebellion action. One of the quotes was physical society, and they jumped in the road and did a barricade as well. So I know not everybody knows that's happened, so it's just letting you know that. We finally infiltrated the system. Hooray!
They also managed to spoof the BBC, providing an expert to talk about a new type of concrete which can actually be grown.
The Physical Society research different kinds of green technologies like this fungal concrete.
And this is called what? Funcrete, is it?
Funcrete, that's right, made of mycelium. But new green technologies like this don't help at all unless you phase out, retire the old dirty technologies, right? And city firms are pouring billions of pounds into fossil fuels and other polluting industries. And we're here to plead with the new Lord Mayor to change the story. We need something new, and change is now.
Thank you so much for taking the time out. Enjoy the rest of the parade.
Thank you very much.
More than 100 activists also managed to block the procession on Fleet Street and protested from within the security barriers as the Lord Mayor and other dignitaries passed by.
We don't want your blood money!
The return route along the embankment was held up for nearly an hour as several protesters sat in the road. Public response to the protest was fairly positive, although a few onlookers expressed anger.
So how long are you going to be here for?
As long as it takes.
One of the city dignitaries made his views clear when he saw the climate banners. Each year for Remembrance Sunday, the Peace Pledge Union organises and distributes white poppies to represent remembrance for all victims of war of all nationalities, along with a commitment to peace and a rejection of militarism. The number of shops and other outlets selling white poppies has more than doubled in the last 5 years, and more schools are making them alongside red poppies. Alternative remembrance ceremonies were held in cities and towns across the UK, including one in the Peace Garden at Tavistock Square in London. Among the speakers were Huda Amori, a co-founder of the Palestine Action Group, which has made waves this year with its regular direct actions against Israeli arms company Elbit in the UK.
Companies like Elbit Systems, which is Israel's largest arms company, actually use these bombing attacks against the people of Gaza as an opportunity to test their weapons. I kid you not, they literally market their weapons as battle tested. We saw in 2014 when 2,200 Palestinians were killed in 50 days, including 500 children, Elbit's share prices went through the roof. And essentially they use Gaza as the laboratory. They're building their weapons here and they export them to other oppressive regimes across the world. We know, for example, India is the largest importer of arms from Israel, which is used against the occupied people of Kashmir. We know that the British Army have hired these drones from Elbit Systems to use in Afghanistan to kill, again, people in Afghanistan. And it's the same cycle of war. And not only are these drones then and these weapons used to force families to flee, but they're now also being used. They've got a recent contract with the UK Civil Aviation Authority to use these very same drones to surveil the channel to stop migrants from seeking refuge in this country. So people are forced out of their homes, and then when they flee for safety, our response is the same companies are profiting to ensure that they don't get here. So I ask today, while we reflect and remember and grieve for all of those killed by war and colonialism, that we also reflect on our own positions and what we can do in order to stop this from where we are. Thank you.
Hamid Dargadan from Iraq Body Count, which maintains the largest public database of violent civilian deaths since the 2003 invasion, also spoke at the National Alternative Remembrance Ceremony.
Our present-day national memory remains selective.
limited to honouring in earnest only our warriors and our civilians killed in wars or acts of terrorism. We named our project the Iraq Body Count, in part as a response to the hideous concept of body counts as a measure of progress as put forward in the Vietnam War. The individual who brought to light the largest single trove of information on casualties in Iraq, much, but not yet all of which is integrated in our database, is Julian Assange through publication of the Iraq War Logs. He is now confined to a high-security prison cell for this very act, an exercise of the very freedoms of thought and communication it is claimed our war dead die for.
9 protesters from the Insulate Britain Direct Action climate movement were summoned to the High Court yesterday morning for breaching the terms of a wide-ranging injunction designed to prevent continued disruption on the M25, but which extends its reach to the entire strategic road network and ill-defined adjoining roads.
In the UK, we have a rich history of people standing up using civil disobedience. That means challenging the laws that are there at the time to try and achieve change.
I personally have been in the road 7 times. I know friends who have been in the road 18 times at this point, and there's not been a single criminal proceeding against us.
The whole injunction thing just looks like a privatisation of the legal system.
To put an injunction on the entire strategic road network of the whole country is an assault on our democracy and our right to protest.
This just looks like a way of bypassing the criminal justice system and of potentially getting us into prison without us getting to sit in front of a jury and be judged by normal members of the public.
Any jury who listens to everything we have to say would likely end up on sides, because we've been acting in accordance with the science and we can prove it.
It's been really interesting to see how much hatred we've kind of received from the right-wing press and how they've kind of closed ranks and always try and talk about a disruption rather than what that we're actually addressing here.
If you're emotionally connected with the suffering that's going on now, and if you understood the science and where we're headed, the enormous suffering which is coming down the road at us, you would not be complaining about our tactics.
The disruption that we cause, although it's framed in this way that is so drastic, in a moment, right, when a few people are sitting in a road for minutes, of a population of 70 million people, what is that disruption really?
It's an essential part of protest that people are disrupted, and ultimately we want to protect and save those people. We're not trying to just annoy them or be an inconvenience. We want to protect them and their children's future.
Over the last 6 weeks of the campaign, we've had over 4,000 features in news articles. Evidently, if you've been watching the news, you've been hearing a lot more about the climate crisis and insulation. I'd like to think we have partial responsibility for that. And even if people don't agree with our means, they do agree with our aims.
Conventional methods of trying to appeal to this government, you can objectively measure that failure in the increase of our output of carbon for the last 50 years and measure it against the amount of petitions and letters that have been written. It's only increased. There's been no decrease in our emissions, right?
My 21st birthday's tomorrow. I'm going to miss that. I'm going to miss Christmas too, most likely. And I make this sacrifice because if we want to see the change we need to act.
When you're facing climate collapse, I can't be any more frightened or intimidated than that. So this is inevitably where we were going to end up. They tried to frighten us to make us stop, and we carried on.
I just want to express my gratitude to everyone who's taken part in this campaign and has supported this campaign. And yeah, I guess the struggle will continue.
We're going to need to work a lot harder than we currently are. And when I am locked up for this, 10 more will take my place. And when those 10 are locked up, 100 more will take theirs. This is the spark that's needed.
Our leaders have failed us. Our government is betraying vulnerable people and it's betraying our children's future. And I will not be a bystander in that, and I will stand up. And if it takes me standing on the M25, then I will do it. And I will do it again until our government take the responsibility.
A solidarity action at the High Court has been called by Extinction Rebellion next Saturday at noon. That's all for this week's What's Happening. Remember, Real Media and Phoenix Media Cooperative have joined forces to bring you a weekly newsletter to keep you up to date with inspiring actions around the world. You can subscribe here to check it out, and do check it out because it has more details than we can fit in these videos. Also, we'd love you to tell us if you think there's stories or issues you'd like us to cover in coming newsletters and shows. Thanks for watching, and remember to like, subscribe and share. And join us again next week for more truly independent news. Thanks so much.